The Ritz-Carlton ballroom buzzed with Silicon Valley's elite as I quietly slipped through the grand doors. My father's 60th birthday celebration was exactly what you'd expect from the Morgan family: excessive tech displays, hovering AI-controlled camera drones, and enough net worth in the room to fund a small country. I adjusted my simple black blazer, a custom piece that looked understated but cost more than most cars. Not that anyone here would notice. They were too busy fawning over my sister Victoria's latest revolutionary app that was basically just another social media platform with extra steps. "Oh, look who finally made it," Victoria's voice carried across the room with practiced disdain. "How's the little computer repair shop, Emily? Still fixing printers for senior citizens?" If she only knew that Morgan Tech Solutions, my supposedly tiny repair shop, was actually a front for Morgan Global Technologies, the shadow company that had been systematically acquiring failing tech startups and transforming them into profitable enterprises for the past 5 years. "Business is steady," I replied mildly, accepting a glass of champagne. "Not everyone can be a tech mogul like you, Vicky." She preened at that, missing the irony completely. "Well, we can't all have the Morgan innovation gene. Dad always said some people are meant to lead and others," she gestured vaguely at me, "are meant to follow." The massive screens around the ballroom displayed various tech news channels, all buzzing about today's biggest story: the mysterious acquisition of Quantum Dynamics, one of Silicon Valley's most prestigious companies. Nobody knew who was behind the purchase except for my small team of trusted executives. "Speaking of Dad," Victoria continued, "he's been bragging about my Series C funding all evening. $50 million. That's probably more than you make in a decade of fixing laptops." I hid my smile behind my champagne glass. My latest acquisition, Quantum Dynamics, had cost $8.2 billion. The paperwork finalizing the deal had been signed this morning, with the public announcement scheduled for tomorrow. "Congratulations," I said sincerely. After all, her success had helped keep attention away from my own activities. While everyone focused on the flashy Morgan heiress, nobody noticed her quiet sister building an empire in the shadows. "Emily." My father's booming voice cut through the crowd. "Come here, princess. Show Victoria's investors your website. Show them what a real small business looks like." The patronizing tone made several nearby tech bros snicker. I walked over, pulling up the deliberately basic website for Morgan Tech Solutions on my phone. The site was designed to look exactly like what they expected: a simple local business with modest ambitions. "See." Dad gestured proudly to Victoria's sleek corporate site displayed on one of the giant screens. "This is what a Morgan can achieve when they apply themselves. Though," he patted my shoulder condescendingly, "there's nothing wrong with honest small business work." My phone buzzed, a message from my real office. "Wall Street Journal exclusive confirmed for tomorrow. They're particularly interested in the quantum acquisition and your plans for AI integration." "Another printer emergency?" Victoria smirked, noticing my phone. "Those paper jams won't fix themselves." I was saved from responding by the arrival of Marcus Chin, CEO of Quantum Dynamics, or rather former CEO as of this morning. He looked uncomfortable, keeping to the edges of the party while fielding constant questions about the mystery buyer. "Any hints about who acquired Quantum?" someone called out to him. "The whole valley's buzzing." "I'm afraid I'm bound by NDAs," Marcus replied diplomatically, catching my eye across the room. He was one of the few who knew my true identity, having signed the papers this morning. The party continued in its predictable pattern. Victoria held court near the main stage, demonstrating her app to adoring investors. My father bounced between groups, alternating between praising Victoria's genius and making jokes about my quaint little shop. "At least she's self-sufficient," I overheard him tell one group. "Though I do worry about her future. No ambition, you see. Not like Victoria." My phone buzzed again, Forbes and Bloomberg requesting interviews. Tech Twitter exploding with quantum acquisition speculation. Several major news networks camped outside HQ. Perfect timing. "Emily," Victoria called out sweetly, "why don't you tell everyone about your exciting Black Friday sale? 15% off virus removal, wasn't it?" Before I could respond, every screen in the ballroom suddenly switched to breaking news. The news anchor's voice filled the room. "Breaking. Mystery tech giant acquires Quantum Dynamics in biggest deal of the year." Sources say the unknown buyer has secretly acquired over 30 major tech companies in the past 5 years. The room fell silent, all eyes turning to Marcus Chin, who was now smiling directly at me. My phone rang, the Wall Street Journal calling right on schedule. "Excuse me," I said to my stunned sister, "I need to take this call about my small business." "Good evening, this is Emily Morgan," I answered the phone clearly, letting my voice carry across the suddenly silent ballroom. The Wall Street Journal's tech editor was right on schedule. "Ms. Morgan, we're ready to run the Quantum Dynamics story. Would you like to comment on the acquisition and your role as CEO of Morgan Global Technologies?" Victoria's champagne glass slipped from her fingers, shattering on the marble floor. The sound echoed through the room, punctuating the growing chaos as realization began to dawn on the assembled tech elite. "Morgan Global Technologies?" My father's voice cracked. "The shadow company that's been buying up half of Silicon Valley." I held up one finger, silently asking for a moment as I continued my call. "Yes, you can confirm that MGT has acquired Quantum Dynamics for $8.2 billion. The press release will detail our plans to integrate their quantum computing technology with our existing AI infrastructure." The massive screens were now showing financial graphics, tracking the mysterious acquisitions of Morgan Global Technologies over the past 5 years. Companies I'd quietly purchased and transformed: DataStream Solutions, Neurotech, Infinity Systems, and now Quantum Dynamics, all part of my growing tech empire. "This is impossible," Victoria stammered. "You fix computers. You run a repair shop." "Actually," Marcus Chin stepped forward, "she runs one of the most sophisticated tech conglomerates in the world. The repair shop was just a clever cover." He raised his glass in my direction. "Brilliantly played, Ms. Morgan." My father pushed through the crowd, his face fluctuating between red and white. Where did you get the money? The expertise?" I ended my call and faced him directly. "Remember when you refused to fund my AI research project in college? Said it was too ambitious for someone at my level? I took that project to private investors instead. Built it into an algorithm that predicts failing tech companies with valuable IP." The screens now showed MGT's portfolio. Over 30 companies, each acquired at their lowest point and transformed into profitable enterprises. My small business approach applied on a massive scale. "While everyone watched Victoria launch apps," I continued, "I was quietly buying and rehabilitating struggling tech companies. Every time you bragged about her series of funding, I was closing another billion-dollar acquisition." "But the repair shop," Victoria whispered, "was the perfect cover. Who would suspect the girl fixing printers was actually revolutionizing quantum computing? This small business owner was really orchestrating the biggest tech consolidation in Silicon Valley history." My phone buzzed continuously now: Bloomberg, CNBC, TechCrunch, all wanting comments on the story. The news was spreading fast and MGT's stock was already soaring in after-hours trading. "Those senior citizens bringing in their laptops?" I smiled at Victoria. "Many were actually tech veterans I hired as consultants. Every time you mocked me for working late at the shop, I was actually in video conferences with international investors." The ballroom had transformed into chaos. Investors who had dismissed me all evening were now desperately trying to get my attention. Victoria's followers had abandoned her presentation, clustering around screens showing MGT's impressive financial data. "Your mother," my father said quietly, "she always said you thought differently about technology. Said you saw patterns others missed." "She was right," I replied. "While you and Victoria focused on making flashy apps, I was building something bigger. Something that could actually change the industry." My phone rang again, this time displaying Marcus Chen's contact. He stood across the room holding his own phone with a slight smile. "Shall we tell them about Project Oracle?" he asked when I answered, his voice carrying across the speakers. The screens flickered, displaying the confidential project files. The room gasped collectively as they saw what quantum dynamics technology could really do when combined with my AI systems. Victoria grabbed my arm. All this time, while we were making jokes about printer repairs, I was building the future, I finished for her. Just not in the way you expected. The next hour transformed from a birthday celebration into an impromptu tech summit as Project Oracle's details filled the screens. The quantum computing breakthrough that Quantum Dynamics had been struggling to perfect, combined with my AI algorithms, would revolutionize everything from climate prediction to disease control. The repair shop wasn't just a cover, I explained to the now captivated audience. It was a research lab. Every broken device brought in was actually feeding data to our AI systems, helping us understand how people really interact with technology. Marcus Chen took over, highlighting key aspects of the merger. While everyone was focusing on consumer apps and social media, Emily was quietly solving the biggest problems in quantum computing. The printer repairs were actually quantum stability tests. Victoria, who had finally recovered from her initial shock, tried to regain control of the situation. But my app has 2 million users. We're revolutionizing how people connect. And how many lives has it changed? I asked quietly. How many real problems has it solved? The screens shifted to show MGT's actual impact. AI-driven medical diagnostics that had saved thousands of lives, climate modeling systems that had predicted and helped prevent natural disasters, education platforms that had reached millions of underprivileged students. Every company I acquired had potential beyond their market value, I continued. Quantum Dynamics wasn't just another acquisition, it was the final piece we needed to make Project Oracle fully operational. My father, who had been uncharacteristically quiet, finally spoke up. Why all the secrecy? Why pretend to run a small repair shop? Because you taught me well, Dad, I smiled. Just not the lessons you intended. You always said image was everything in tech. That perception creates reality. So I created a perception that kept everyone looking the other way while I built something real. The ballroom's AI systems suddenly activated, creating a holographic display of Project Oracle's full capabilities. The assembled tech leaders gasped as they saw the true scope of what I'd created. Ladies and gentlemen, Marcus announced, meet the world's first truly integrated quantum AI system, capable of processing and analyzing data at levels we once thought impossible. My phone buzzed again, this time with a message that made me smile. Speaking of impossible, I said, the markets open in Hong Kong in 3 minutes. Would you like to see what happens when we announce Project Oracle's first public demonstration? The screen switched to financial channels. The tech world was about to witness the true power of my small business. But first, I turned to Victoria. I believe you were saying something about a Series C funding round? She blushed, looking at her now abandoned presentation. Emily, would you like to know why I chose today to reveal everything? I asked, addressing the room. Not just because it's Dad's birthday, but because MGT is launching a new initiative funding for innovative startups that prioritize social impact over profit margins. Victoria's eyes widened as she understood. You mean, your app has potential beyond social media? I nodded. With the right focus and MGT's resources, it could connect isolated communities, facilitate distance learning, enable remote medical consultations. The Hong Kong markets opened and MGT's stock price immediately soared. The screens filled with headlines. Morgan Global Technologies reveals revolutionary quantum AI system. Tech's hidden giant. The Emily Morgan story. Small repair shop to tech empire. Silicon Valley's greatest coup. My father approached slowly, tears in his eyes. Your mother would be so proud, he whispered. She always said you'd change the world someday. That's the thing about real change, I replied. It doesn't always announce itself with flashy presentations and viral marketing. Sometimes it starts with something as simple as a repair shop. The party had evolved into something entirely different. Investors who had ignored me all evening were now clustering around, eager to discuss partnerships. Victoria's followers were exploring ways to repurpose her app for humanitarian causes. Even my father's tech friends were admitting they'd completely misjudged the quiet Morgan daughter. As the evening wound down, I stood by the windows, watching the San Francisco skyline glitter. My phone displayed messages from world leaders, tech giants, and humanitarian organizations, all wanting to know more about Project Oracle's capabilities. Still fixing printers? Victoria asked softly, joining me at the window. In a way, I smiled. Just on a slightly larger scale. The repair shop sign was visible from our vantage point, its modest facade hiding one of the most advanced research facilities in the world. Tomorrow it would be the center of a media storm. But tonight it was still just a small business, exactly as I'd planned it. You know what the best part is? I asked, showing Victoria my phone's calendar. I still have a printer repair scheduled for Mrs. Johnson tomorrow morning. You're not seriously going to? Of course I am, I replied. Because that's what they never understood. Success isn't about how big you can become. It's about staying true to your principles no matter how big you get. The screens displayed one final headline. Morgan Global Technologies announces free tech education program for underprivileged communities. Because sometimes the biggest changes start with the smallest repairs. 1 year later, I sat in my repair shop, now transformed into a community tech education center while still maintaining its original facade. The worn counter where I once fixed printers now hosted coding classes for local kids. The back room where I'd secretly conducted quantum experiments had become an innovation lab for aspiring young tech entrepreneurs. Victoria had surprised everyone by throwing herself completely into the humanitarian side of technology. Her app, now backed by MGT's resources, had become a vital communication tool for disaster relief efforts worldwide. She often joked that it took her sister's small business to show her what real success looked like. Dad had changed too. The former tech mogul now spent his time mentoring young innovators, particularly focusing on those who, like me, saw technology differently. He'd finally understood that innovation wasn't always about being the loudest voice in the room. Miss Morgan. Mrs. Johnson's familiar voice called from the doorway. My printer's acting up again. I smiled, getting up from my desk where I'd just finished a video call with world leaders about Project Oracle's latest breakthrough. Coming, Mrs. Johnson. Some things hadn't changed. I still fixed printers, though now each repair was also a lesson for the students watching. Every problem solved was a teaching moment, every solution a step toward someone else's innovation. The wall behind my desk displayed the framed Wall Street Journal article from that fateful night. The Repair Shop Revolution: How Emily Morgan Changed Tech Forever. Below it hung a simple sign that had been there since day one. No problem too small, no dream too big. Because in the end, true success isn't measured by market caps or user numbers. It's measured by lives changed, problems solved, and dreams realized, sometimes one printer repair at a time.